Hello, everyone. Hi, we're going to start right away. First of all, thank you. Thank you all for being here. Today, it's our fifth AVC subcommittee meeting. Of course, the topic for today, it's pretty sure that everyone is interested already to find out more information about the stability scope. But before we start with this, as always, we have some special announcements, especially if this is your first time meeting. I am gonna share a Notion with all the links that are necessary for this scope. So on the chat, uh, the link. So what if this is your first time? In the link of the Notion, you're gonna find all the relevant information regarding this scope, stability scope. So you're gonna find the slides for the presentation. So I encourage you to that's how you can also see the slides and all the information relevant that it's there. And of course the MIP, the atlas, because something that you need to know is that of course this presentation and all the talk for today are based on these two um let's say tools that are the MIP 104 and the atlas. So and of course some extra materials that are going to be for your further understanding on all of this that is happening. Soon, the recording for today's session is gonna appear also here as well for you to kind of like if you want to watch it again. So that is when it comes to our first time visitors or audience. And if you already know about us, thank you for coming again. And please, if you appreciate our work and share our values, become an aligned delegate of our sovereign finance AVC. And also in the document with the link, there is our strategy document that I am going to share as well in the chat. Of course, all the feedback is really welcome and necessary, so you could take a look at it. And that would be it when it comes to that important information and links that you will need that kind of to understand this scope. So before starting on the topic, a friendly reminder as well that if you are MKR holder, you can delegate to our current aligned delegates that are Clocky and Paul. Shout out to them. They are already holding, as you can see here, this MKR, which for us is like a really big step, and we're pretty excited about it. So thank you for trusting us. And okay, so what we will cover today, of course, it's the um the stability scope, and we are going to focus on what for us we find it the most relevant in the scope. And each slides contain the following: the scope improvement, the DAI stability, as the DAI stable coin reference asset. We have the core stability parameters, the allocator DAO vaults, the legal recourse assets, the allocator DAO effective junior capital, the allocator DAO collateral and market requirements, the allocator penalties, the surplus buffer, and smart burn engine. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you are here in order to kind of like want to listen about these specific topics. The DAO economic resilience models, the MKR backstop, and the DAI stablecoin decentralization. So if you don't know already, we have also guests today. Actually, it's the first time we have two guests, but with this scope, we feel like it was necessary to have some people that have more knowledge into this with us. So it's joining us, and I'm going to explain before I introduce each of them, but just in a few minutes we will start with our first guest. So this is going to be really interesting, and we're here to learn in order to understand more this scope, so that way we can also make proposals that are going to fit in more into the scope. So well, That saying, let's start. Okay, so this is the of course the every also last week meeting we have this scope improvement, which is of course well the Stability Advisory Council. It's of course a group of approved individuals who work to make the stability scope better, as the name mentions, improvements, right? So and we have here advisory council membership management. So as you can read in here, and we have also seen this the same part in section in the previous scope. So council members are chosen by maker governance, and this is based on specific rules, specific criteria. And advisory councils are ecosystem actors. Shout out to BA Labs. We have them today, and just a couple of seconds, I would say, they're going to start sharing their more information about the role and more topics relevant for about this scope. Something as well important and relevant to mention in here is that the council members should not have any sort of conflict of interest, um, and should have like relevant expertise for providing professional input on the scope content. Pretty sure that our guest today, like Rema, is gonna talk in further detail into this. Hi, and so actually, hey Marian, it's your mic. So um, then we have this all this process. Of course, it's managed by the stability facilitators. Okay, so they periodically provide. Oh, there you go. As they from time to time provide this information and bring like suitable ones to a vote for approval. Something relevant also to mention in this part is that the facilitators can start a vote to in order to remove a council member, especially if they haven't contributed for a year. Um, well, when it comes to projects and funding, well, the as it mentioned here, the council is paid for projects that improve the scope framework. And the stability facilitators request project proposals like every 3 months and involve council members to improve this scope. Um, so in like uncertain situations, the facilitators can ask the council members to suggest changes to address specific issues. Of course, we have our proposal about this specific section, and we're gonna ask also Rema what does he think about, and some insights about what we have proposed and modified. And well, the DAO toolkit integration and stability scope should be integrated with the DAO toolkit to provide a complete and accessible description of all relevant data processes. So, um, yes, so yeah, the stability scope should have like a user-friendly strategy for how it looks and how people interact with it, like using this DAO toolkit. Okay, so before they passing into, I'm pretty sure that everyone wants to learn about and understand more about. I am going to introduce our first guest, which we're pretty excited. The Rema here, which is a member, of course, of previous risk core unit and current ecosystem actor from BA Labs. And also, of course, a member of the Stability Scope Advisory Council. We are pretty excited that we finally have an advisory council member, a maker advisory council member. So, how are you, Rema?
Hey Chris, and hello Sovereign Finance AVC. I'm great, thank you.
Thank you for being here and taking the time to share your knowledge and what you know with us. We're here to learn about everything that you are willing to share or relevant information. So just to give all of you a context of what Remar's gonna give a talk. So basically, he's gonna give like a short introduction to BA Labs, and his current role, of course, as a member of Stability Scope Advisory Council. So please, if you have any questions related to these, um, the chat is here. Please call we're gonna be answering as long as it's related to this. Also, I do have some questions that are regarding the his role, and of course, he is gonna cover as well I mean, briefly the stability scope, which these relevant elements that need like further information, further developed, like rate system, the smart burn engine, allocation system. So any questions that you might have about any of these topics, please write it on the chat. And that will be, I'm going to pass to you the mic, Rema, and please share with us your knowledge.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So hello everyone. Like Chris already introduced me, I am Rema. I am part of the X risk core unit, and currently I am part of the BA Labs, which is a professional ecosystem actor, and we are a member of the advisory council of the stability scope. I'm also joined here with Monet, who is another member of the our team. Yeah, in case I sound basically, if my volume is low, can you just increase it in the Discord, or you already did?
I mean, yes, your volume is low, but I mean, I could understand what you're saying, but well, if you cannot make it higher, it's okay, I
Uh,
guess.
yeah, I will try to do a very fast fix. Usually this is not the case, and I didn't speak in the Discord for quite some long already. Just a second, and sorry for this.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So, um, yeah, okay. For other people, it's extremely low. Okay, don't worry. We can fix that. And while he's fixing the problem, please, you can share your doubts, questions in the chat, especially about all these topics. Any of these that are maybe new terms, right? So yes, let me know when you're ready, Rema, so we can continue.
Yeah, so unfortunately, like my output is already set to the maximum, so I apologize. Like I said, this is not the case in the other programs, so sorry. I will try to speak loudly. Yeah, so
Perfect.
essentially, since this is the first interaction between our team and Sovereign Finance AVC, I will just give a brief introduction to our team and basically what we did in the past and what we currently do. So our team was established in the foundation era. We were never part of the official foundation team, but we were like external consultants. And then later on, we transitioned under core unit model. We were one of the first core units of the protocol. And in this era of MakerDAO, we were tasked with mostly things which are related to the decentralized collateral and things which are on-chain. So this would be, for example, various collateral risk assessments and proposing parameters related to the on-chain collateral and also various other parts of the system, such as auctions and PSM and similar things. In addition, we were also monitoring the state of decentralized collateral, and we also maintain two important dashboards. The first one is MakerDAO risk dashboard, which is very important tool for us. It basically gives us the ability to effectively monitor the system and understand what is currently going on. And then MakerBurn, who you probably know better than our risk dashboard, is also part of our team. Yeah, and then as MakerDAO basically transitioned into the endgame era, we were transitioned as a professional ecosystem actor and currently work as advisory council member as part of the stability scope. Currently, our tasks are basically to prepare proposals based on the language of the scope to alter various parameters. We also contributed with some of the language which was directly incorporated into the scope. And then we are also working on various elements which are covered in the stability scope. Roughly speaking, this would be the rate system, how basically all interest rates function in the system. Then further on is the allocation system and what I like to call the allocator DAO regulatory framework. Then we also did some things related to the smart burn engine, and further on I believe we will also contribute with configuring parameters and perhaps the design of the Sagittarius engine. Then what is important to mention is that under this new role of us being a professional ecosystem actor, we also basically merged with Data Insight core unit, and essentially together we are developing a new dashboard which is called MakerDAO.fyi, and this dashboard is going to incorporate current dashboards, which are Maker Risk dashboard and Maker Burn, but it will also be further expanded to incorporate some of the things which previous Data Insight team had in their own dashboard. These are related to the Maker Teleport, Maker Teleport and data regarding the voting and the governance. And MakerDAO FYI is basically we envision it to essentially at one point, cover as much as possible of every aspect of the MakerDAO ecosystem. Yeah, that's essentially what we currently do. Oh, yeah, one thing where we are also active is that we help allocator DAOs in case they need some help. So, for example, recently we helped Sparkland team to set some of the initial parameters and review the parameter settings, and also help them with offboarding two collateral types into the system. Yeah, and we also developed a dashboard which is for Sparkland, which is basically enables us and everybody else to kind of have an insight into the activity of lending inside the platform, and what users do and similar things. Yeah, I think this is what I wanted to basically say in terms of introducing us, but in the case anybody wants to have like more in-depth introduction to our team, we recently posted our introduction as the ecosystem, as a professional ecosystem actor to the forum, where we also basically listed a list of services that we do. I'm going to link this forum post to the chat. And then further on, our team, I believe, since the core unit inception, we are basically posting monthly reviews of our contribution, and I'm going to link the most recent one into the chat as well. So yeah, I hope this covers introduction to our team. And now I believe Monet will say a few words in regards to the stability scope itself.
Hey all, can everyone hear me all right? Hopefully my volume is coming through here. Awesome. All right. Yeah, I just wanted to share kind of how we're looking at the stability scope and kind of like the sort of high level elements.
I guess he's too shy. I'm gonna try to talk loud so I can match your voice, because I guess that some people have put the volume higher. So is this okay? So thank you so much for that. I do have a couple of questions. Just if Monet isn't ready yet, I could start asking these specific questions related to the to your role. And whenever Monet is ready, was he talking really? Oh my God, I can't listen. Oh,
Yeah, like
I'm
in case you
sorry.
have any questions for me, I'm happy, to have them now already. But Monet is planning to, say a few words about the stability scope. He was the second person speaking. I'm sorry if
Oh, I apologize. I was not okay. I thought there was no one talking. Okay. My bad. Please continue talking, Monet.
No worries, no worries. Discord, I always have to go through all my settings to get everything to work on the Discord calls. So yeah, just kind of brief overview of how we see the stability scope. It's I kind of look at it as Maker's bread and butter. It's like the core sort of framework and rules that make sure that DAI itself is stable and we're able to manage the solvency risk and the liquidity risk of the protocol properly so that people can, basically continue relying on DAI to be worth a dollar, just kind of doing its job. And the stability scope rules in particular, they are really focused on kind of the big change in Endgame where DAI generation previously has been mainly created through Maker Core, through like the classic MakerDAO vaults and through the PSMs. And in Endgame, this is all transitioning to having most and potentially even all DAI generated through subDAOs in the future. So the stability scope creates basically like rules of the road for subDAOs that they have to follow to make sure that they're not taking on too much risk, not exposing Maker or DAI holders to sort of tail risks events, and preventing them from just kind of taking on too risky of activity, while still giving the subDAOs the freedom to deploy capital as they see fit and kind of as they think is going to be in the best interest. So there's capital and liquidity requirements and risk sort of requirements that are coded into the scope. There's also some incentives for subDAOs to support decentralized collateral because that is a really important sort of feature of Maker to maintaining a decentralized stablecoin. The more than other sort of high quality decentralized collateral we can use, the better. And the scope is a set of rules, but it's primarily sort of run by two different classes of contributors. So there's the facilitator, who's responsible for submitting or signing off on changes. And then there's also the advisory council. We're currently the only advisory council member, but they're essentially domain experts. And they're intended to provide like, basically guidance on changes, scope improvements, other research tasks, and just kind of generally being as helpful as they can with their own domain-specific knowledge. And I think one interesting or sort of maybe sort of work in progress part of the scope is so far Block Analytica is the only member of the advisory council. So we haven't gone through the process of like onboarding additional contributors as advisory council members. So that's something that we're still, basically going to sort of figure out as a DAO of how do we onboard additional members of the advisory council to get more expertise and just kind of a more resilient, sort of advisory capacity there, where we can have multiple different actors that are helping shape the scope improvements and parameter changes. So yeah, hopefully mostly people were able to hear me there, but that's kind of like how we're looking at the stability scope at a high level.
Okay, Monet, thank you very much. Now, Chris, you can continue.
Thank you, guys. I don't know what I'm still trying to fix this, and it's a shame that I couldn't hear Monet talking. But fortunately, this call has been recorded, so on the recording, I I will be able, and everyone that also couldn't hear him talking in the recording. Um, so I do have a couple of questions that I would like to ask you guys. Since it's just me, probably doesn't matter. We're gonna focus like this. I cannot hear you, but people are telling me when you stop talking, so it's perfectly fine. And so let's just start with the questions. So these questions are very related to your current role, and but of course, if you could provide any extra and relevant information about the stability scope, like the smart board engine, the allocation system, and the rate system, of course, is pretty welcome. And well, let me ask you the question. So you have give an overview of your stability scope advisory council role, right? Also, what you are already working on. Um, so I one of the question is, how is an advisory council selected? What was your process like? And also, like, what are like the main challenges and responsibility faced by an advisory council member? Okay, and after these two questions, I would love to share with you our proposals so you can give your feedbacks and what do you think about it. So I'm gonna repeat the questions. um, how is an advisory council selected? What was your process like? And the main challenges and responsibility that are faced by an advisory council member.
Yeah, I'm going to take this one if it's fine with Monet. Essentially, in regards to the first question, which was how is an advisory council selected and what is your process? What was our process? Sorry. Essentially, to my understanding, the current process of becoming a new professional ecosystem actor and advisory council member is to first post the introduction to your entity and list of services that you are offering. And then upon this, the responsible facilitator of the scope, and in the future, this is of course going to be a sub-DAO specific to this, is basically responsible to select good ecosystem actors and invite you to the advisory council. And then once you are a member of the advisory council, you can be distributed specific tasks to your entity. And in the case of our team specifically, we are kind of an exception to this because we were previously a core unit and we were just transitioned into an ecosystem actor essentially. And this was done with the ratification of the initial MIP 104 decentralized collateral scope, which was later on merged together with the real world asset and the stability scope into now known stability scope. Yeah, this was the first question. And then the second question, I believe, is what are the main challenges that and responsibility that advisory council members are you know dealing with. So here I would say that obviously like advisory council member of the stability scope needs to be well acquainted with the crypto financial market and DeFi ecosystem specifically. I think additionally needs to have like good understanding of like financial markets and how they function. So like the first challenge is obviously like the pre-requisition which is required to perform these tasks, and then I believe that like other challenges comes with just being on top with everything, because at least currently, right, there is like a lot of information basically available in different forms. Some of them are like MIPS and various different forum posts. Obviously, like a lot of information is also available in the form of basically Zoom calls, which Rune used to have a few times per week. And also like there is some information available, just like, for example, very recently there was like quite in-depth podcast with Rune, which is on the YouTube, maybe for reference, or later when I stop talking, I will find it and share it just so people know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so like the challenge is to basically just like stay on the top of things that are going on in MakerDAO. Obviously, like the governance of MakerDAO is quite complex, at least in my opinion, right? And then like additional challenge is, I would say, for at least me and my experience as like a risk unit member and currently advisory council member, is basically like this possibility that at any time something strange can happen. There can be like a crisis. In the past few years we had quite few of them, unfortunately. And basically when such an event happens, right, you really need to follow everything very carefully and basically understand everything what is going on and what are the possible things which MakerDAO can do in terms of parameters and similar things which can be altered in order to basically protect various stakeholders of the MakerDAO. So yeah, like obviously in order to manage such a crisis, right, the advisory council needs to have a very good understanding of like I said before, right, the general financial markets, specifically DeFi ecosystem, and also obviously how maker governance works itself, right? Yeah, hope this answers your questions.
Definitely, you have to give us like more context of what your current role is and how do you're like helping improving all of these artifacts. I would like to I would like Monet to tell us if there is something that you could share with us related to the rate system, the smart burn engine, the allocation system. Like, can you give us what you understand about all these changes?
Right, I think I should be unmuted now. Yeah, I think in the past week or two, we've been focusing a lot on the smart burn engine. So It's basically it's a way that makers' excess sort of surplus funds can be. Previously, Maker had like the MKR burn, which would buy back and burn MKR with surplus that was above and over what we needed. The smart burn engine is planning to work a little bit differently, where instead of just buying back and burning MKR, it will buy back MKR and then pair it with DAI into LP position, buy back and make. Exactly, which is there was a VC a couple years ago who had a post about that, basically sort of advocating for increasing liquidity rather than just burning tokens. And we've been working on trying to optimize that a bit. So basically you need to consider like what are the gas costs for operating the smart burn engine, and then compare that against the slippage that you might end up incurring, or like what are the trading costs depending on how much MKR you're buying at once, how frequently. So yeah, we've been kind of working with Pull Up, with other ecosystem contributors to try and like sort of optimize that so that we can operate the smart burn engine uh, according to how the scopes wrote it out, but with the lowest possible cost of either gas or market impact and slippage. So that's been our probably one of our main focuses recently. Um, I think in the medium term, though, the basically all the systems to manage how funds are allocated to sub-DAOs and how much capital is going to be required for sub-DAOs to hold the junior capital, and then the different like penalties or what we will charge sub-DAOs if they don't manage to have enough capital or if they're taking too much risk. I think those are going to be the biggest sort of medium-term tasks that are in front of the stability scope. Because again, those are kind of like the core, core, sort of tasks of managing the Maker protocol to keep DAI stable. So that's something that we're working on quite a lot recently as well, but still kind of in like a development stage on that.
Okay, first of all, I'm really glad that I could finally hear you. And there are a lot of questions, well, some questions also on the chat, but also Rema and Bonapolica is answering them. Um, so, but I think we have like the best people in order to explain this to us. So please, if you have, if any of the audience have any questions, please put it in the chat. Um, and also, I don't know if you could give us like an insight of the surplus buffer and how is it working, like very briefly. I don't want to take a lot of time, but if you could share it with us.
Yeah, sure. I will take this one. Like essentially, surplus buffer is like accumulating all the stability fees and also like basically positive cash flows from different sources such as liquidation penalty or trading fees inside the PSM, and also obviously inflow from the real world assets. And essentially, for example, when it comes to the native vaults, essentially like ETH and other decentralized collateral vaults, what is important to understand is that when essentially like stability fee accrues, the surplus buffer also increases at the same time. And this is like different than like conventional loans, right, where basically the borrower pays installments continuously. Essentially in MakerDAO, because the loan is over collateralized, we can account the surplus buffer even if it was not already paid, right? So yeah, like surplus buffer is like the positive cash flow which protocol accumulates from different sources. And then in Oh, sorry. Yeah, did you want to?
Yeah, that was a great explanation. Yeah. I was just there is a certain question regarding the legal records assets. If any like
Yeah,
insights
so
on
so like our team essentially did not work in the past at all in regards to the real world assets. So like I will try to explain this best to my ability. Essentially, like the real world assets, right? Basically, pay their like interest back based on the predetermined schedule, right? And to my understanding, this schedule differs greatly between different real world assets.
thank you so much guys for taking your time for being here. I don't know if there are any other question that it's here, but since you are here, you could also answer it on the chat. Um, and just before we move on to our next guest, I provided you our proposal since this is what we think it should be modified when it comes to certain components and also like adding. So I don't know if Rema, you could share your insights about this.
Yeah,
I have.
yeah, for sure. Basically, you sent me right your proposal, and essentially I saw this specific articles that you are providing improved language for. I don't know what is the best way to basically go over this. Perhaps you know. Uh, 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 like I will just basically say which specific article I am referring to. So the first one is component 1.1.2.3, which basically speaks about like this ability that in the case where ecosystem actor does not basically provide um, their contributions in the form which can be directly incorporated in the language of the scope. The responsible facilitator can essentially hire somebody else, right, to basically transcribe this work into the form which is directly compatible with the scope. And yeah, so like yeah, I just need to very quickly check this out so I don't mess something up. Yeah, so essentially, like my opinion, right, is that this article, to my understanding, right, is meant to lower barrier to entry for new potential advisory council members, because obviously not everybody is well informed with how exactly the maker governance works, and in what exact form their work should be provided in. So like if we imagine some entity is really knowledgeable about some specific area, and they want to essentially basically create a research or analysis or something like this, but they don't necessarily want or know how to deal with the maker governance itself. um, and then another case where basically I think this article can help some specific entities, is basically related to the potential legal risks, which is obviously really very different based on where exactly this entity is incorporated, or where exactly their members are, and so on, right? Yeah, like essentially, I think that that this article kind of wants to lower the barrier to entry and basically allow as much of basically entities who just wants to provide research and analysis to the scope, which is obviously very needed and useful. And I think like that it is maybe better to have this language than not to have, because it just will potentially lead to more actors, right? Which is obviously good for the DAO. And you know, at any time if you want, just like interrupt me and we can stop at some specific article or something like this. So yeah, this was the first one. Then if we move on, there is essentially another component, which is component 1.1.1.3. Yeah, sorry, I just need to quickly read through it. Yeah, like essentially, right? You are providing an basically expansion of this article, right? In the form of another sub article, which would like be introduced, where basically stability facilitator is you know, must basically respond to the potential applications in a set period of time, which you set to be 1 month. Yeah, like in my opinion, this makes sense, right? Like people basically who wants to join the advisory council should, you know, in my opinion at least, right, get like some kind of feedback as soon as possible, right? So yeah, I think that that this article also makes sense. Yeah, like I hope that I provided a valuable like point of view on these few things. And in the case if you want me to talk about some other article, please let me know.
Thank you so much. That was really useful, and yeah, it should make it more attractive for people to apply. I agree with you, Manette. So, thank you so much, guys, for your time. We're gonna move on to our next guest. So if you haven't answered any questions from the chat, if you could please take a little bit more time to share your knowledge in the chat. And let's move on to our next guest that is gonna we're gonna discuss a little bit about hold on, let me find. Okay. So with us is also Nesk. Hi Nesk. He is from his well, I'm gonna mention your role, which is treasury manager for Gnosis DAO and CowDAO, and he is going to talk with us about the recent report they did about the DSR. So first of all, please, how are you, Nesk?
Hi, Chris. I'm good. Thanks for having me here. I hope I can provide some clarity on my views on what's the potential impacts and the potential risks about the DSR changes that it's already live. Right? Can you hear me?
Awesome. Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, I
Okay.
can hear you. And again, like thank you for being here. And I think we can start. I don't know if you want to first share just briefly your background, and then yes, please. I think we're more interested also to know about this change in the interest rate.
Yes. Well, my background is in economics. I'm Argentinian, as many people here, I guess. Um, I guess that's why I'm interested in stablecoins. Yeah, I also worked for a while for Unstable as data scientist. Now I'm working in Carpathy, doing treasury management, as you said, for Gnosis DAO and CowDAO. And yeah, I'm here to talk about the DSR. I've done some some research, thinking what could happen with this. I think like in order to understand what's the impact of this, you have to previously